Hey, I'm Michael Dorinda,
And I am Jake Bennett.
and welcome to episode 198 of the North Meet South web podcast.
All right, I feel like I should go grab a Spindrift and open it real quick. We used to do that. You remember that?
We did.
The
Or you
grapefruit
did.
Spindrift. What were they? They didn't call it grapefruit though. What did they call it? Pamplemousse. What is that?
Pamplemousse. It's a band.
Pamplemousse.
Pamplemousse.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know
It
what
was a band. So
pamplemousse
the
is.
guy, you go get your Spindrift, and I will talk about. So Pamplemousse,
Hit it.
assuming it's spelt the same way. Pamplemousse. He's like the founder or the CEO of Patreon. Has like a jam band with his wife partner called Pamplemousse, and they like just get in a studio and they just record like cover tracks of all these different songs, and just like the whole thing is a vibe. They're like just in there having fun. He's on the keys, his partner sings. They've got the whole crew in there doing all kinds of different covers. So it's called Pamplemousse. Don't know if it's the same
Sounds
spelling
fun.
or the same word, but yeah, I'll
Sounds
have to
fun.
link them in the show
I'm
notes
sure it
because
has some
they sound pretty
relation
good.
to like, yeah, I'm sure there's like some relation to, grapefruit or something. There's got to be. Grape
Who could say?
fruit pamplemousse. Let's see what it is.
Pamplemousse.
Pamplemousse is the French word for
Grapefruit.
grapefruit.
Mm,
That's what it
there you
is.
go.
There you have it.
So
It's like croissant, something like that.
that's right. Pamplemousse.
Um,
But this
I,
is Pomplamoose.
pamplemousse.
Pomp. Anyway, still a great band.
Yeah, sure, of course.
There you go.
Um,
The
so
name of the band derives from a misspelling of the French word pamplemousse,
which
meaning
stands
grapefruit.
for grapefruit. Yes, exactly. And the English word of grapefruit. Yeah. Okay. Well, we did not have pamplemousse, and so I am going with. Let's see if you can tell by opening it. Ready? What do you think? Anybody out there? This is an Izzy. If you've
Izzy?
never heard of Izzy, it is sparkling juice, basically. Flavored juice beverage blend from concentrate with other natural flavors. And my favorite happens to be the sparkling blackberry. It is unreal, so good. It used to only come in glass bottles, and now it comes in little 8-ounce cans. And so it's good stuff. Yeah, try it out. Hey, man, I was going to... do we want to recap Laracon real quick? Do we want to talk about that real fast?
We did.
And then,
Let's do it.
I'd love to talk about this game that I'm making because it's just been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should go through like all the talks, but I think we should sort of kick off like what we did. I guess what we were there. So day one for me, trips, travel, blah blah blah. Got there. I was like looking for a lobster roll in Boston. Right. Day one, I'm like, let's hit a lobster roll. Right. And my buddy Andy, who was already in the city, was kind of traveling around. And I'm like, hey, let's grab lunch. And he's like, what are you guys having? And I'm like, lobster roll. He's like, I think I'm going to keep going around.
Yeah.
not interested.
We're just having none of
and
that.
So, yeah, so the group of people I was with were like, nah, we're not huge seafood fans. Like, but if there's something else at the restaurant, I'm like, well, what do you guys want to eat? Asian food. Great. Okay. Well, we were in little, like, what do they call it? Chinatown. We were in like Chinatown. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Little part of Boston. And I'm like, yeah, let's go to this restaurant around the corner or whatever. And so I think I said it was a Thai place. I was like trying to describe it to you, like, hey, we're at this Thai place around the corner.
Yeah.
And you're like, you guys, I saw you guys outside the window, and you're like, what? And like, you guys look so confused. And I come up, I'm like, hey, we're in here. And you're like, I thought you said that you were at a Thai place. I was like, yeah. And they were like, and you were like, and on the sign, it's like, it looks like it's in Chinese, right? I don't know. And you're like, it's a Malaysian place. I'm like, how do you know that? Like, can you read this? And then you point to the English spelling underneath it. It says Malaysian food. And I'm like, oh, okay. Apparently, I've never had Malaysian food before, but it was unreal. It was so good. It was so stinking good. And so that was day one. That was a lot of fun. And then we did dodgeball. How did dodgeball go, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, look, we ran the table, went 5-0, won the medals. It was great. You put two guys from India and an Australian onto a team where throwing is involved.
Yes,
cricket is kind of baked in to our heritage. So
that was unreal.
Vishal was crazy.
when Vishal started, like, what, because I knew Vishal and like I knew one of the other guys, I think, but when they first started on the team, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be interesting because I don't think they've ever played dodgeball, and I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna go. But then yeah, when they started doing their like what do they call it, like I think it's a crow hop, like when you're like getting, like when you get ready to like bowl in cricket, right? You take this like crow hop and you just whip that ball, and holy cow, those dudes could throw. Now they went over the center line every time.
Yeah, every
right?
time. Yeah. Eventually, Vishal got told off, and Hank's like,
right.
Vishal, you're out. You can't throw over the line. He's like, okay, sorry, I won't do it again. And Hank's like, no, you out. Get out of here.
You're out. You're out. Yeah. But it was hilarious. Vishal like kept on being like, who are we? And we're like, what? What is he saying? All right, where is ready? Who are we? And we're like, we are the Dodge Fathers.
Dodge Fathers.
Like, who are we? And he kept on saying it, and then he was like, hip hip. And so by the time we were done, we all knew his cheer, but he just expected us to all know it. It was hilarious. And so a great time. Yeah, ran the table, won the thing. That was super fun. That was a great way to kick it off. And then we had Laraprom, day 0.
Yeah.
Day 0, which was really cool. Yeah, yeah.
The prom was really good. I know there's been a lot said about the prom. I think it was well executed. I think people, by and large, took it seriously. And I think the number of people that didn't dress up far outweighed the number of people that did. But I think the people that didn't dress up then felt underdressed, even though they were the majority of the of the crowd. So I think whatever they do, like I know that Ian has started planning this already, but whatever they do next year, I think number one, it's going to include nachos with or without rice, which is insane, completely insane. I don't know why I said tacho, because I was thinking tacos.
Okay, tachos. I was like, this is a new thing. I've never heard of these tachos. All right.
No.
You should start a tacho truck. You should
truck?
make this tacho truck. Yeah, it's a food truck, a tacho food truck. I love it.
Yes. So, he's talking nachos. He said there's going to be 2 lines, one with rice, one without. I think this is...
What the heck? So for you, are you like, do you do rice? Do you always do rice?
Nobody does rice.
I was like, that's what I'm saying too. What the heck are we even talking about?
It's a whole thing, isn't it, Aaron? And like, look, if you the reaction that you had is the correct reaction. No rice on nachos.
No.
And all I had was this reaction in my head until I listened to the episode of Mostly Technical where Aaron was kind of talking about this and that, like, the thought process at 2 a.m. after you've had a few drinks, you're tired, you're hungry. And so his thought process was, I see rice, I'm hungry, I'll eat rice, that'll fill me up. Sure, I can get behind that. It's not like it was a premeditated, I always put rice on my nachos, but definitely do not, under any circumstances. No. But I've
done it before. I've done it before, but it's not. It's. I mean, it's certainly not like a typical oh yeah, of course you got to eat your nachos with your rice. I mean, I don't know.
Unbelievable. No, well, I discussed this because you can put nacho chips into a burrito. Get that pleasant little crunch in there. But if you're getting nachos, you're getting them for the crunch. You don't go to all the effort of taking your tortilla, cutting it up into chips, frying it, only to then make it soggy again. That's not on. So
I like this. This is a good take. I agree with this. No, I'm not a rice.
But it was not premeditated, so I will allow nachos. It. But I just think all the discourse, like, it has invaded X.com, the everything app, for the last week. So I appreciate that it's become a thing. But
I would say on the day 0 thing though, like, it was very good to have the whole community together. And here's why, right?
Executed.
That day 0 is always tough because everybody's coming in, everybody's getting in, and there's no it's like everybody's just trying to find dinner plans or something, right? And so the fact that you had a place where everybody could meet to get together and then sort of disperse from there was huge. And you didn't feel like you had to get all the social time in one evening, because that's typically the case, right?
Yeah.
And so day 0 really went well. Day 1 of talks, super great. I'm not going to espouse the benefits of all the talks. Lots of cool stuff that Taylor talked about, of course, as always, crushed it. Then day 1, after party, best chicken, like best grilled kebabs I've ever had in my life. No exaggeration. The food was so good.
Anything over charcoal like that, you're going to have a great time. So
yeah, The
shout
food
out
was
to
so good.
shout out to
Abby.
Gen Z Abby over at Laravel, because I think as a conference organizer myself, I know that she will have a laundry list of things that she has noticed that nobody else in attendance will have noticed, and these are things that will like gnaw at her, and she'll be like, I need to fix this next time, and this and this, and she'll go through this list and she will fix all of those things next time around. But from an attendee perspective, I think by and large flawless. The only nitpick I have, two things I had.
Are
That
we doing
food was
nitpicks? Okay.
sensational.
Let's do
That food
nitpicks
was
too.
sensational, so it disappeared very quickly.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay.
just like
Fair.
get the food out again. They brought more out. Don't get me wrong. There was more
Yeah,
food. It's
yeah.
just that the gap was there. And then at the prom, there was like 400 people in that room, and there was 2 bars,
Yeah, that
and
was
the
tough.
lines went wall to wall. So
That was
I
tough.
already
That's
I already
Yeah.
spoke to Abby, and I said this is my only suggestion, and I gave her the suggestion, so she can do with that what she will. But flawless event. She probably doesn't listen to this podcast. I don't.
She does.
Don't blame her.
She absolutely does. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Aaron does.
Everybody in the community
Aaron does, and he will communicate. But no,
he's sending this to the marketing team at Laravel as we speak.
For sure. But yeah, flawless execution, and to have done it. I know there was some back and forth with, Hank was still there. This was his last event, but I think from what I could tell, it was basically she was running the show, and she did a fantastic event to like cater to 900 people with everything that was going on. I think it was just really well done from a organization perspective. So shout out to Gen Z Abby there.
Okay, so tell me the Gen Z thing. Why? What's the story behind Gen Z Abby? Why is it Gen Z Abby?
She's like 24 or something like that. This is Ian Landsman. It's a Landsmanism that that started over on the Mostly Technical podcast.
Okay.
That they I think it was last year. They saw her somewhere, and Ian's like, "Where's Gen Z Abby going?" That's the hop after the after party finish. That's what they were following. So
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gen Z
it was
Abby.
good. Yep. It was good to have everything like, in Southie was good. It was around things. There was accommodation. Like it was a bit sketchy walking from where we were downtown to Southie through some of those, crossing those highways and whatever else. But yeah, I think Boston was a great city.
It was. It was a lot of fun.
Run it back. Just do Boston again, even though it's literally the furthest that I could travel for
Danny Picard.
Danny Picard.
Yeah, I think you said that like there was one person who was giving you a bagel, and they did the full on Boston accent.
They
called you
full
babe.
Boston.
Yeah, baby. She called you babe.
Baby.
She called you baby, and she gave you the whole.
We're gonna get that
Boston
on the poppy
accent,
for
and
you.
You were like,
yeah,
yep.
I'm not even going to attempt the accent because that's not. That's not me.
It would be sacrilegious. It would be disrespectful to try.
Gave me the.
So
full
we're not
going
to try.
Did appreciate.
She gave you the full, and like you're like, of the people that I'm going to choose to tip, I chose to tip her because she deserved it, right?
Yeah.
I think it was interesting to hear the Europeans and your comment on Americans' tipping culture. So that's another whole thing. We can talk about that later. But that's always fun to hear that perspective on things. The one other thing I was going to say then, day one, went good. Aaron, of course, joined the marketing team. That was really fun. To hear that announcement, super excited about that. Got to chat with him a little bit about some of his plans. Of course, he's got a whole laundry list of things, and I'm really excited to see what the marketing plan will look like for this next year. It's going to be amazing. Well done. I told Aaron he's been doing that job for free for like 3 years. He's basically been on staff doing marketing for Laravel without getting paid and without having the official position for like the last 3 years. So it's like, congratulations on finally getting the actual official title. Yeah.
I still remember when you plucked him out of nowhere when he built Sidecar, and you just like one day said, "Hey, I recorded this interview with Aaron Francis." And I was like, all right, I'll just edit that, because I think we didn't have time to record or something that week. So you just like found this guy out of nowhere and was like, I'm going to record with him. So yeah, it's been that he's been around PHP for 20 years, that he's been around Laravel for 10 years, and just, you would think he came out of nowhere one day, but he's just been around it for such a long time. He's
so lucky.
He's
so lucky.
Oh yeah, overnight success for sure.
Overnight success. Yeah. No, I loved his shed quarters thing. I think that's what I first connected. I literally read through all those blog posts. I was like, this is super fun. but then he's just such a delightful dude too. So it was really fun to talk with him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah. So day one, so here's the only thing I would say that I was a little confused about. I did not understand the shipping desk thing. Did not get that.
The
Like,
Laravel thing. Yeah, they did that last year as well.
did they? So okay, here's what I didn't get. It was like I had to get stamps on a postcard, but then I was supposed to take the postcard and write a note to myself or to somebody or whatever. That part just sort of fell a little bit flat for me. I didn't understand it. And I guess it was the point to be like, hey, you can take stuff here and we'll ship it home for you if you don't have room to take it in your luggage. Is that what it was? Or it was literally just a postcard shipping thing? Like, we'll just ship a postcard.
I think it was just that. I think it was leaning into the shipping, the whole we must ship. I think it was just leaning into that, really. I think it would have been good if they had communicated that you had to get the thing stamped.
That's kind of what it was. It's like I was sort of like,
yeah.
Well, also just the we must ship, like
Mm.
getting that. I just felt like I didn't understand it necessarily. Now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like it's
Makes sense,
clever.
yeah.
It's
But
clever.
I don't recall that it was ever mentioned at any point that was a thing that was happening. So yeah. Signage, just
whatever. I mean, like
line. Aaron was too
it's
busy saying that he was the VP of marketing and community to worry about that stuff.
yeah, and I mean, it also hardly matters. I mean, it wasn't like it was a massive lift for themselves, or they lost a bunch of money on it or something. It didn't hardly matter. It's just I didn't understand it. I was just confused. So whatever, it's fine, no big deal. Okay, moving on. That was day one. Day two was also super great. The food I felt was again super good. I really liked having the vendor tent real close, and I spent a good amount of time over there. The vendors were all super wonderful this year, and it rained a little bit day two, but they took care of all of that. It didn't really affect anything. So they had good planning for that, and even the food outside was like, it was under tents and stuff, so that was all great. So yeah, again, just good planning, and was very delighted by the speakers. One of my favorite talks was the silly software, feeding your inner Tom.
Oh, yeah. Christina.
She was so good, just so inspirational. She did such a wonderful job, and that kind of
has genuinely inspired a whole bunch of people to start posting about random silly software that they're building. So I don't have any myself. Tom. I don't have the energy or the creativity for that kind of stuff, but it's just been cool to see all the stuff that has been shipped in the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And so I'm very excited about that. That was a lot of fun. And one of, I was talking to my guys right after the conference, like, hey, what was some of your biggest takeaways? And almost everybody mentioned that talk. They're like, I want to sort of bring back the fun of work. It's just like, sometimes you just kind of get like, ugh. And she addressed that. She was like, yep, you're not having enough fun at work because you're taking everything way too seriously. Like, you need to make room for some fun and so for some silly stuff, some throwaway stuff. And so, yeah, that was a cool talk. And so Laracon, good, a lot of fun, awesome. The silly thing that I've been working on is this game called Boom Party. So this has got a bit of lore on this show. We've talked about this a number of times. It's a Bomberman clone. And I used to play this game with my team every morning. We have a stand-up every morning, 9:15. We go through what we're working on for the day, and then we play a little game. And Boom Party was this really fast-paced little Bomberman clone, and it's competitive, surprisingly competitive, but really just super fun. Like, I played today with TJ and David Hemphill.
I wake up to 100 messages. I'm like, what is going on in here?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was like, hey, does anybody have 3 minutes? Like, give me some feedback on this thing. And so they jumped on and played like a couple rounds, and were like, hey, yeah, this is some things you could change or whatever. So it's a really fun game. But basically what happened is there was a company called around.co. I think it was basically screen sharing and video conferencing. It came out right around COVID time. One of the things they really wanted to do, because it was COVID time, was nobody could kind of be together and play together. So they had all these games, right? They had like code names that you could do online. This was just one of the options. And we really liked this one. But around.co got acquired by Miro, I think, or something like that. And then they shuttered the app. And along with it, Boom Party went goodbye. And so before they shuttered it, I logged into their app, not through their app, but through their browser, because you could join as a guest. into the app. You know what I mean? If you invited somebody from the outside, similar to like when you do Zoom, you can say, nope, join through the browser. I joined through the browser, and then I grabbed the assets that were coming from that game, like the sprite sheets and stuff like that. Because I asked the whole team, like I messaged their engineers and I was like, can you give me the source code for this? Nope, they couldn't because they were being acquired. No worries. I went then around and started looking for Bomberman clones on GitHub. I found one that was written in Phaser. So I was like, okay, maybe it's like this. So apparently, a long time ago, a guy had written this Bomberman clone using Phaser, and that was the original base that they built Boom Party off of, was this guy's work. And so with that GitHub repo and a fork off of it that had been updated to Phaser 3, and the assets that I had downloaded from the game, I was able to ask Fable to sort of resurrect this thing. And so it's been really fun working on that. And, previously we just had to sort of say like, this is what the game is, and there's really nothing we can do to change it. But now I can make all the changes I want. So I can have it like, when we set up a game, I can say play for 3 rounds instead of having to sort of ready up in the lobby and everybody get through again. It's just, nope, it just starts the next round. It keeps track of scores. I've got like sound and, sound effects and stuff, which weren't there previously. I can customize avatars, all, new game mechanics, new power-ups, all this. It's so fun. And I've got it out there in our Wilbur repo. But think about open sourcing it honestly, because number one, I would love for other people to be able to hack on it and play with it. And I would love for other people to be able to self-host it and make it fun for their teams. I would love it if people started using it for their teams. It's so quick. And I really feel like it's just a little bonding thing. Like our team loves and looks forward to this every day. Like if we didn't do it, it would definitely make our morning meetings so much less fun. There's so many things that you talk about during this game, like what are your kids up to today? Like, you guys have anything going on this weekend or whatever? It's just those little interactions that aren't work talk that don't happen if there's not like a just white space. It's the water cooler, right? And so when we do it every day, it's like we show up at a conference and it's like we're actually friends because we talk every day about just life stuff, not just work stuff. So right now you can see it at boomparty.fly.dev. But I'm going to be getting a host, not a host, a DNS name for it. It's probably going to be boompartygame.com or something like that. So boom.party is taken, boomparty.com is taken. So it's got to be something else. So we'll figure it out. But it's been really fun to work on. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, you and I had a quick play last week after recording, and it was good fun.
Yeah, that's right.
And like I can see how it can become a bit hectic once you get a few people in there going around with it. So what is fly.dev? Is that like fly.io?
It's fly.io. It's fly.io, but
okay.
when you put something on there, exactly. And I would have used Laravel Cloud, but Laravel Cloud didn't have the, they shipped like ship your Go app, ship your React app, ship your whatever, but they didn't have just Node. They didn't have like a Node thing. Yeah, and Taylor had said they were going to release that this coming week, and so I'm kind of waiting to buy a domain and all that stuff, because my real actual hope is to switch it over to a Laravel Cloud. Just honestly, almost just to support the effort, right? And then I'll tweet it out there and people can see if they like it and play around with their teams. And so we'll see if we can crash the server or something. I'm not sure. We'll see. So it's really pretty light. I mean, it's using Node and like WebSockets and Phaser, but most of the work is client side. So it's like there's not a lot of strain on the server. At first I was very concerned about that because I was like, why is it so slow? But it turns out the WebSockets were going from Chicago to Singapore and then back to Chicago and then back. And so that was like, it went from 25 milliseconds to like 400 milliseconds. And so that was no good, but all fixed up now. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to work on. And it's like, I've been like, literally I've fallen asleep a couple nights in bed, like with the laptop on my lap, just like waiting for Fable to finish the thing. I was like, pretty much. But I've been using Gemini as well to generate images and videos. That's been Gemini is by far the best I've found for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do it often enough, so all of my prompts kind of stink, and I never really get what I want. But I find that Gemini does produce the better output of I mean, GPT does pretty well. Like if I want to do something it does it reasonably well, but you can't. It's hard to kind of finagle it after it's spat something out. Like if you try and tweak something, then it makes some unrelated change. And I was trying to get it to do some um like a comic book. There's a player that plays for my team. His name is Mitch Zadow, and we were at the game, and he like kicked the ball, and one of the people I was sitting with, one of my friends, goes, "Oh, it'd be cool if we had like a comic book, like in the old Batman comics, be like Kapow
Ka-chow, yeah.
and all of that kind of stuff." So we like because his name is Kadow, so we made like a
Ka-chow.
comic style thing where he's kicking a football and it's like Kadow in the background.
Ka-chow.
So
I love it.
but trying to get it to like put goalposts
Stick.
in the correct perspective. Yeah, it's just I just take them out. It's not working. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's good fun to be able to just like spit this kind of stuff out now.
And I think it's sort of the thing I've recognized with like the image and video generation stuff. Sometimes you can one shot it and it works fine and it's great. And I, to be honest, I don't know if I can really evaluate well chat versus Gemini, but I tried with Claude, I tried with Grok, and I tried with Gemini, and Gemini was by far the best of the three. However, similar to some of the problems you have when you're trying to one shot Claude, where you're like, hey, do this feature, and you don't do a planning mode up front. The planning mode really is just helping you write the prompt, right? That's what it's doing, right? How can I best write the prompt in a way that the engine's going to understand? So what I was doing is I was asking Claude, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and here's an example image. Can you write a prompt for me that I can feed to Gemini? And actually that worked really well, because if I just tried to do it to Gemini itself, it didn't work great. But like when I asked Claude to help me write a prompt for Gemini, it would write a pretty descriptive prompt. I'd paste that into Gemini along with a source image, and it crushed it. And so yeah, it's really good. And then I've been using these other tools to like create a perfectly looping video. Suno.com. Have you ever used Suno? That's super fun.
I didn't directly, but that's one of the tools that Chris used when he was doing our Laracon, like all of the Bruce stuff last year. He was using Suno quite a bit.
Yeah, Suno is really good, and so it'll generate like music for you. It's a great one too if you're just trying to like, I made a song for my daughter and her friend who she met across the street this summer, and they've been like just besties all summer, and so it can do that sort of stuff and like any style. And again, it's like I had Gemini write me a prompt to put into Suno, and so it's like using both engines to sort of like it's not adversarial. It's just like, hey, you tell me how I should do this, and then I paste it into Suno. It works great, and so and so that's been fun, just kind of playing off of the different things and figuring out where they work best, and it's been really enjoyable. A lot of good times with that one. So yeah,
I have not been having good times.
oh no! All right, let's hear about your woes.
Well, we landed well in the end, but I got back to work, and I was like not quite ready to go back into what I was doing before. I needed something to ease back into it a little bit. So I thought Pest 5 upgrade, that'll be fine.
Yeah, let's ease right into a Pest 5 upgrade.
Well, if you read the documentation, theoretically all you do is update carrot 4 to carrot 5 for the main Pest and all of your plugins, and that's it. But in order for the tier engine, the test impact analysis stuff that does all of the caching and checking of like, if I change this file, what tests need to run, or if I change this, like what are the dependencies, and then it will only run a subset of your tests based on what you have actually changed, which when you're working locally, you want to iterate quickly. And you think you're changing one part of the code, but there may be some related piece that you haven't missed. So the fact that it uses coverage analysis to kind of figure out what is actually impacted by that change is really clever. Yeah. And so I thought that will certainly help, because the amount of times that we've, not to production, but the amount of times that we've changed like a small thing here, run the test for that thing that we have changed, got them all passing, pushed it into CI, and then have something tangentially related break is like, it doesn't happen often, but it's non-zero. So having this extra coverage would be really useful. So I thought, let's do the upgrade. Now, hurdle number 1, if all of your tests are not in a Pest style, then it won't work. Like they must all be Pest style.
Sure, that makes sense.
And we still had a number of tests in the code base that were PHPUnit-style, because we were actually using some inheritance to define like 5 or 6 tests at the abstract class level, and then we would define like a data set on the child class or whatever else that the parent would use to then run those tests. So there'd be scenarios for different lenders, for example, or different roles and different access levels in the application. So there was, typically you wouldn't use inheritance in test, and you can't really with Pest, the way that it's like flat file functional syntax works. There are ways to kind of put things into a parent, like an abstract class, and then instead of, users test case at the top of your Pest files, you would use whatever that other class is, which works if you're just inheriting behavior. But if you're trying to push things back up from like abstract methods defined in the parent, that doesn't work when you're not inside of a class. So it took, in some instances, we could use Pest's drift plugin to make those upgrades, and that was okay. Mm-hmm. In other instances, we had to think more about like how that actually worked to decouple the inheritance from the tests. And in some instances, we use like folder level namespaces because we've got like 15 models being referenced inside of a test, testing all different things. So instead of importing each model on one per line and ending up with 15 use statements, we'll import the models directory and then reference the classes models/person or models/business or whatever.
Yep.
So as part of the drift plugin, it would then go and import each of those classes and then rewrite all of and it led to collisions in some places, because in some places we had a person DTO and a person model, and so we lost that. So unfortunately, it wasn't as straightforward as just running drift over the code base. So we hit that. We hit an issue with like we had functions inside of, like scaffold functions that are called multiple times, but where we had different controllers, for example, that were being tested with similar but slightly different, like we'd have a configure request function across 3 different files. Well, that doesn't work with auto loading, because now you're auto loading the same function in 3 different files, and PHP goes, you can't redeclare this function. So, figuring out ways around that, because it was not the same setup in each of those things. So we had to figure out how to deal with that. But then we started looking at, we'd had this in the past, and I'm sure we've spoken about it on the show, where we would cache our migrations.
Yeah.
So
I remember
we've
this.
got,
because you guys got like, a crap ton of them, right?
We've got hundreds, like 800-900 migrations.
Why don't you just squash them?
We don't want to squash them.
Why?
I don't know. We don't want to squash them though. Let's just say that's off the table. I can't remember the reason, but we don't want to.
I mean, because basically that's what you're doing, right? Caching migrations is essentially squashing them.
Yeah. So we've got the schema dumps work well, and so we use the schema dumps, and that basically means that the migrations, we hadn't done it for a while, so our schema dump was out by about 100 migrations.
Okay.
So we did a new schema dump.
Wait, are we talking about the same thing? Schema dump is squash migrations, isn't it?
Yes. Okay, we are talking about the same thing.
Okay.
There's the schema dump where you would like run that, and then you would remove all of the migrations. We are not removing the migrations.
Yes.
We still have the individual
that's
migrations.
Fine.
Yeah.
Which
yes,
basically all that does is it runs that schema file first, and then that schema file also populates the migrations table with all the ones that it should skip, basically. And so okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yes, right. We're on the same page now. So yes, we do that then.
Okay.
But we hadn't run the schema dump artisan command for a while. There was 100 migrations there. So that 100 migrations translated to about 3 seconds worth of additional migration on every test. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. I did that. So that sped things up quite a bit. And we've got multiple databases. So I did that for each of them. As it turns out, at some point, one of these databases is for our like quote system, which has got, there's no sensitive data in there, but it's like rates for different lenders, base rates, rates for different products, different configurations and things like that. And it was easier because this is all like live data that's managed by the business. It was easy to just grab that database locally and then import it locally to do my testing for changes that we were making based on whatever the current production values were. as part of that process, that database has been around for like 10 years. It predates InnoDB. This
Okay.
is
Wow.
important. I will come back to
It
this. This is
predates NODB.
yeah. So it's like a
Okay.
MySQL 5 era database.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and so all of the tables were using the MySAM database engine. Now, in addition to all of this, we are also then doing this Pest upgrade, and suddenly all these tests start breaking. We're expecting rates to exist in here, and like they don't. But if we run the test in isolation, it worked fine. But if we ran the full parallel test suite, it would like break at a different test file, but around the same area, it would fall apart. I'm trying to figure out what it is, because if you run the test in isolation, it worked fine. So I sent Claude off on an adventure. Go on and figure out what's causing this. Why is there a discrepancy? Why are we not finding the records that we're expecting here? And it was not like an obvious failure. All we got was a parallel worker exception. Like the worker just stopped. And we couldn't add like display errors. We tried all of this stuff. We tried running it verbose to get additional data out of it. Nothing. Like there was no feedback. We're like dumping inside of classes. We're adding DDs inside of like vendor files to try and debug what's going on here, and nothing. Like the process just ended and there was no information. And it was like a cascading series of issues that we eventually found, where because that database came from production and it had the MyISAM like engine. Well, MyISAM doesn't support truncates. So we got rid of all the truncate. And also like truncates are, there's two different, I don't know what the acronyms stand for, but there's DDL operations, which is like truncate, create, alter. And then there's DML operations in MySQL, which are things like select, insert, update, delete. DDL operations are not truncate safe, right? So if you run, are not transaction safe. So if you run a truncate inside of a CEDA or a migration or something, it will implicitly commit the transaction. So when this CEDA runs inside of a transaction using like Laravel's database migrations trait in the tests, it will implicitly commit when you run that truncate to like delete all the records from the database and then reseed them. The expectation of the tests, of course, is that everything runs inside of a transaction. So you'd run this CEDA, you would do whatever you're doing, it would roll everything back to beforehand, and you'd have the clean slate. So we started getting into this situation where, because of this implicit commit on the truncate operation, instead of there being 70 records in a table, there was one, because we would run the truncate, it would commit the transaction, it would then seed the database with one record. So the next test that would run would go, nothing to do here, because like we have the base state from like the cached migrations. And then it would go through the test and it would try and find this record, which now no longer existed, because it's only the one from that now, committed transaction. So instead of there being 70 records there's one. It's not finding it. And because this is still like a very legacy part of the code base, it doesn't throw exceptions. It doesn't return null or zero. It just had an exit in there, like a PHP exit and then a message.
That's fun.
Which is fine in a single process. When you are just running that one test, you'll get the exit and it'll spit it out to stand it out to the terminal, and you'll see it and you can fix it. Inside of a parallel worker process, there's like the parent process that runs. It has a manifest or a status file of like all of the tests that need to be run. And then it goes and finds a worker that's running, and it sends it the thing, and it runs the test, and it gives it. Now, an exit is terminal. It just exits. It doesn't go through the bootstrap process of the test or the framework. It doesn't do any of the normal stuff. Like a failure or an exception gets caught by Pest or by PHPUnit, and it comes back through the printer. The exit statement just ends the PHP process. So there's nothing for the worker to process. The parent just sees it as a crashed worker and then blows up the whole thing. So, all of this digging, looking around, all of these things, this is why like doing all of these things at once is a terrible idea. But it took Claude 2 hours to get to the resolution that like, oh, you've got an exit in here. it would have taken me at least 2 days, probably a week of like banging my head on a desk and like going out for a run because I don't want to look at it anymore and hoping that it
Yeah.
just comes back to me. 2 hours. Thank God for Claude. But yeah, I mean, this is obvious to anyone writing code, I think, in 2026. Don't put exit statements in your code. Those are bad. Unless you're like returning to a terminal. Just don't exit. There's a whole, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's all done now. Like the test suite. So a full like regular parallel test run takes about 4.5 minutes. If we run
Nice.
a
That's not bad at
tier,
all.
yeah, that's like 18,000 tests or something like that. If we were to run like an uncached tier, so like, vendor bin pest -- tier - parallel, whatever the flags are that you pass to it, it takes a little bit longer, like probably about 5.5, 6 minutes, because it has to like then do the coverage analysis of everything and figure out what the dependency graph is. The subsequent run, 8 seconds.
No way. No freaking way. So totally worth the time.
Oh yeah. So it took me a week and a bit to like get to the point where everything is working now
8
the way that we need it to work. But 8 seconds.
Kidding me?
Yeah. So and the reason that I like persisted with this migration checksum thing that basically looks, if it will like create your test database and then it will checksum all of the migrations. And if the checksum doesn't change between test runs, it will assume the database exists and skip running the migration. So we keep like a persistent database there. Which basically means like instead of waiting 6 or 7 seconds for the test to start because it has to run the migrations, it basically the whole thing takes like a second now. So we've got single file, which is good, and that will apply whether you run the same file over and over again or if you run this file and that file, like file A, file B, file Z, because it's using the same cache database. So you can like remove the checksum files and it will like reseed it if you need to force it to do something. So we've got the single file wins now, which is great, especially if you've got agents running tests. It doesn't have to wait 7 seconds to get a response to like figure out what to do next. It will get a response much quicker. We've got tier locally, so we can easily, if we make those changes in 2 or 3 files, we can now run tier and know that like we've got a fairly good indication of all of the impact across the code base, not just the 2 things that we thought we changed that didn't impact anything else. So that tick. And then we made like some other performance improvements where we had like we're using Passport and mostly you would use like Passport acting as, but we had some other stuff going on where we would like go and create a Passport token client and we would like, so it's making actual HTTP requests into the application, which slowed things down. There is a trade-off in using Passports acting as, in that it doesn't go and do all of these things. It like injects fakes into the container and like it just shows you as authenticated. So you can run into issues where it doesn't check query scopes because that only happens at the time when you're actually requesting tokens and things like that. So we have seen situations where we've shipped something to production and because we've missed this in the testing, like we didn't put a scope somewhere or whatever, like it was showing something that it shouldn't have, or it errored where we were expecting it to, like for a scope to exist. So there are trade-offs to doing that, but I think the speed improvement is such that like just do it. And Passport is generally like more defensive, so it will fail more often than it will show you something that it shouldn't, fortunately. But yeah, we've got 5 shards running across our CI suite. So now our CI suite per shard, the average is 3.5 minutes. So the whole thing is done in like 4 or 5 minutes now, which is like when we did this show like 4 years ago when I started, and it was taking like 20, 30 minutes. And then we got parallel, or it was like 40 minutes. And then we got it down to, we were doing like manual splits of doing all this stuff. And then we got the sharding came in, and now we've got the time-based sharding. So all of this stuff has improved over the last few years where, once upon a time it would take 30 minutes to run the full test suite. And now, we're talking under 5 minutes for everything to run. So yeah, don't put exits in your code, folks. I'm going to see if I can try and find a nice way to get this migration checksum thing into the framework as like an opt-in feature that you can use. Because I think I don't know how many. I mean, I'm sure there are others out there, but I don't know how many applications are out in the wild that have got 18, 19,000 tests. That if you can improve that local scenario where you can get those tests to run much quicker, or to not have to run those migrations because you've got a persistent MySQL database. It doesn't make sense in the context of like in-memory SQLite, but if you've got things that are dependent on MySQL features, or I haven't tested with Postgres, but I think it should work with Postgres as well. If you've got like database engine specific functionality, then you're probably going to be running like MySQL locally. That this will help with as well. So I'm going to see if I can find a way to pull it out as a pull request to the framework, because I think that'd be useful for others.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to about our max time here. We're at 45 minutes. Should we wrap this one up?
I think we should.
Okay. There was one other thing I was going to tell you guys, but I totally forgot what it was. Darn it all. Don't remember. 198, folks. northmeetsouth.audio/198 for show notes. We'd love to have you rate us up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be incredible. And of course, as always, if you have any questions, hit us up on x.com at Michael Dorinda, at Jacob Bennett, or at North South Audio. All right, folks. Until next time, we'll see you at Boom. Actually, so here's what I need. We'll see you next time. Yeah, right. But I'm looking for a domain for this thing. Did you know that boom.party is a thing? .party is a domain, like extension. Yeah. So boom.party is not available. It's like, I think we should have do a, I either need to rename the game, or I need to raise money to buy boom.party, boom.party. Because,
so.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Anyway, folks, until next time, we'll see you.